Okay. So hey everyone, I'm Allie.
And I'm Noah. So should we give more in-depth introductions than just our names?
Right, yeah. So I'm a senior at Patrick Henry. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'm so excited to be teaching this webinar today. I have been in MUN/JMUN for about 6-7 years now. And I'm a head chair for First Committee.
Nice. And I'm Noah. I go to Scripps Ranch High School, he, him, his, and I'm the head chair for the Economic and Social Council.
And then, hi guys. I'm Caroline. I'm one of the ASGs this year. I'm really excited to see all of you here, or even though I'm not seeing you, but I'm glad you all are here. I am a junior at Point Loma High School, and my pronouns are she or they. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Oh, and sorry, friendly reminder, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat to any of us, and we can answer those as we go along.
So these are just the topics that we're going to be going over. So first, just like introducing flow of debate, and then Allie's going to talk about the process of like opening and getting started, and then I'm going to talk about sort of how debate is structured, and then we'll go over voting procedures quickly and some other tips and miscellaneous resources. So first of all, we're going to be talking about flow of debate, which is kind of like continuation of 2 weeks ago's webinar on like rules of procedure. So the rules of procedure was more talking about like what are the rules, and then the flow of debate is sort of like how we apply those rules, how things are ordered, and like what it actually looks like in committee. Want to go to the next slide? So we learn like flow of debate because it's very important to understand like how the debate actually is structured and how it goes, because then things run a lot more smoothly if everybody's sort of on the same page and knows how things are supposed to be progressing. So something that's essential in understanding flow of debate is, of course, the rules of procedure. So hopefully you were at the webinar 2 weeks ago that went over that, or you watched it in some way. If not, that's also fine. We have some resources I will paste in the chat for you to look at if you did not. There. And so we went over points and motions, which are like really the way that you control what's going on in the debate. So points are sort of trying to clarify something, or if you're lost, or if you need to take care of a personal matter, you can use points. And then motions are like proposing an action for the committee to take as far as what the committee should do next. So yeah. Oh, I guess we already went over that.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about opening committee. Give me 1 second. Okay, so you're going to come into committee, and usually if we were to be in person, you would want to get a good seat in the front so that you can raise your placard high, but I guess on Zoom it doesn't really matter, so seats aren't important today. But we're going to give a quick introduction from the dais, and that's going to be your head chair, your vice chair, and some committee rooms will have 2 staffer pages, others will only have 1. Depends on where you are, and they'll give their pronouns, how long they've been in MUN, personal experiences, something to make you feel comfortable. And then we're going to give our roll call. And roll call is really important because when your country is called, you must be there to be accounted for in debate. And the biggest thing to remember in roll call, there's something called being present and being present in voting. If you're present, that means that you can vote that you support, don't support, or abstain to a resolution. And if you're present in voting, that means that you can either vote yes or no. There's no abstentions. So remember, before you come into debate, try and make sure that you know if you're present or present in voting. So after we give roll call, everybody's settled in. I'm going to ask, is there any points or motions on the floor? Usually if they're crickets, I'll smile upon motioning to open formal debate, but hopefully somebody will open formal debate themselves. And just raise your placard and say, I motion to, or your country and nation motions to open formal debate. And then we're going to set the agenda. So you should all know your agenda topics by now. There's 3 for each. And in debate, we go agenda by agenda and voting block after each. And usually people set the agenda for personal and selfish reasons. So if you have an agenda topic that you feel the most strongly about, that you've written the best speeches for, and or you have resolutions or position papers to read, I highly suggest motioning to set that agenda topic first. Usually, in some committees, we don't always get to the last agenda topic, especially if the debate is absolutely crazy. So try and put the most passionate and awesome agenda topics first. The delegate would motion, I motion to set agenda topic 3, 2, 1, or any of the other ways that you can set it. I think that's all I got. Noah, you want to add on?
Nope, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so usually committees get through like 2, I'd say is the average, like 2 topics, 2 of the 3. So if there's one that like you don't know anything about, just make that 3rd. And the default is just going in order, 1, 2, 3. So if nobody makes a motion, then that is what happens. Yeah, so then you get started, like once you've set the agenda topics, each topic has a sort of arc that it goes through in how you debate it. So there are like 3 different sort of modes of debate, if you want to go to the next slide. So debate can mean like a lot of different things. So she talked about like opening formal debate. So that's just like the baseline, like sort of when you're in conference and you're in character, you're in formal debate. But there's like 3 main ways that you actually end up speaking with each other. So the first way, which is the default way that it happens if nobody makes any motions, is the speakers list. So once you've motioned to order the agenda topics and like you've gone into the topic, you get started with the speakers list. And we talked in the last webinar about how you order the speakers list and how you motion to get onto it. And then the default sort of like way that goes is you have a speech and then 2 comments afterwards. So in the beginning, chairs are usually just going to want to run through the speakers list for a while, usually like 8 speeches with 2 comments each, or something like that, before they accept any like moderated caucuses or unmoderated caucuses. The reason why is because speeches are a great way for like delegates to really set the tone for what their positions are on the topics and sort of getting the general discussion about the topic going. And once the general discussion has started and you can start to see once the speeches are going through, you start to see some countries that are saying similar things, other countries that are saying other similar things. But the speakers list isn't really like an efficient way to go through discussing a topic because it's very choppy. You have these long speeches by one country and then you have 2 short comments afterwards. And in the comments, you can only talk about what the person said in their speech. So it's pretty restricted. So then you can motion for a moderated caucus. So if there's a specific topic that's coming up a lot and you're thinking, well, we should probably try to clear that up. So if the general topic that you're discussing is, say for EcoSoc, like economic empowerment for women through entrepreneurship, then maybe a lot of people are sort of talking about banking laws and resolutions that have to do with like fixing those. So then you might like propose a moderated caucus to talk specifically about that so that you can sort of deal with that. And then all the speeches in that moderated caucus with some sort of like rapid fire, like 45-second or 1-minute speech at a time. And then it's dealt with. And the person that motions for the moderated caucus gets to go first or last. So they can either set the tone for the moderated caucus and get some ideas going, or they can have the final say and really sort of like try to talk about what all the other speeches talked about and sort of make a final proposal. And so that's up to the person that made the motion. And then the third way that we do it, which is much more free form, is an unmoderated caucus. So usually in unmoderated caucuses, the purpose is when you want to just talk to your specific group. So we sort of talked about like once you get through everybody's general policies and how they feel about specific resolutions, they sort of start to form into like, these countries think similarly, these countries think similarly, these countries are going to vote yes on these resolutions, these countries are working on an amendment to this resolution. And so it's sort of, it forms into groups. And so in the unmoderated caucuses, you get to go into your groups and just sort of discuss. If you're drafting an amendment, then you can work on writing that amendment out. Or if you're talking about a specific like point in a resolution, then it's a good way to sort of plan things out. So this year, we don't know specifically yet how unmoderated caucuses are going to go. One idea that seems to be fairly likely is that we're going to do them in breakout rooms, which would make sense because, like we said, a lot of it is like just talking with specific groups. So the best way for that to happen is if we somehow got like, you could choose which breakout room you were in.
That's the main concept that we have at the moment, is to have the breakout rooms that you can choose, but we're not going to confirm it at the moment. We'll have like the official list of how it's all going to run through in April. But yeah, that's the main idea that Noah has.
Great. But yeah, the main sort of fundamental thing about an unmoderated caucus is you don't have to motion to speak. You can just say whatever you want, whenever you want. So whether you're in breakout rooms or everybody's in the main room or you're talking in chats or whatever, like that's a pretty cool thing about unmoderated caucuses. So there's a lot of like specific rules of procedure that have to do with speakers lists that are sort of prevalent, like, that are important to know when you're like first starting out. So like I said, the default mode is usually like speech time, like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and then comments 30 seconds with 2 comments. You can also motion to change the total speaking time. You can change the number of comments. You can change the amount of time allotted to each comment. You can also add questions if you'd like. All of these can be done in the form of motions. And this is like, if the committee wants to like sort of have the speeches form a different function, like if you want to be able to ask questions after each speech, then you can make that motion. Usually these kinds of motions don't get like passed until later on in the committee, or if you have a chair that, you know, has like weird preferences, but you can make those motions, and you know, if that suits your fancy, then that's on the table. And then the other thing you can do is yield time after you've given a speech. So you cannot do this in a moderated caucus, but if you're giving a speech in the speakers list, then you can yield your time to a different delegate, which is also something that is not commonly done, but again, is on the table. I would say you should probably try to coordinate that with that delegate beforehand. For example, like if you wanted to, like both of you are trying to promote the same idea and you want to show the rest of the committee that like both of you are really enthusiastic about this idea, then you could sort of like share the speech. Again, not a very common thing, but if it suits your fancy. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say. Ali, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, I just want to add on quickly about unmoderated caucuses. This is a really good time for networking, I guess you could say. A really good time to make allies, find people who share ideas with you, use your time wisely. A lot of times, especially for first year delegates, it's really easy to kind of get caught up in feeling shy and not putting yourself out there and reaching out to other delegates. But my number one thing is go put yourself out there, especially during unmoderated caucuses, because this is a time when the dais isn't controlling debate. This is your specific time to find people and get yourself out there. Also a really good time for amendment proposals. Like what Noah was saying, you can either work on it with a group, or for the person who's writing the resolution, if you want to propose your amendment to them, make it a friendly amendment, or if it's an unfriendly amendment, that's okay too. But number one rule, use your unmoderated caucus time wisely. That's all from me for that.
Yeah, and then also I guess just one thing I would want to clarify is like usually there's a sort of progression where you start out mostly in the speakers list and then you go to mostly moderated caucuses to talk about sort of like substantive things. And then you spend more time in unmoderated caucuses. And that's for the purpose of like really negotiating and like, okay, well, I'll vote on this resolution if you vote on this resolution, and like figuring out what the final terms of each resolution are going to be, which amendments are going to be friendly or unfriendly. So those kinds of logistic details are really good for unmoderated caucuses. So there's a lot of those at the end, right before voting block, which is when then the committee decides which resolutions are going to be passed and with which amendments. And so that's really like what all of this debate is culminating towards. And you do a voting block for each topic. So she'll talk about that.
Thanks for leading me in. Okay, so we're going to go through. So now we're going to talk a little bit about voting block. And so after you finish debate for one topic, say we're starting on topic 3. We finished debate. Everybody has said their speaking. Everybody's done their speeches. All the comments are finished, all that jazz. Someone's going to motion into moving into voting block. And so voting block, it's a serious time. We turn down the lights. Usually when we're in person, no talking allowed, a very serious experience, very fun to be in. So someone's gonna motion to move into voting block. And remember when we move into voting block, when we did our roll call, remember if you said present or present and voting. Again, just to recap, if you're present, you can vote yes, no, or abstain. And if you're present and voting, you can strictly vote yes or no. What else? So we'll get through all of our resolutions. When there's a friendly or unfriendly amendment, that will also be a part of the resolution that we vote on. They're not apart from each other. So remember to pay attention to that. The dais will always tell you the resolutions that are on the table with those amendments. We'll never leave anything out of your knowledge. And with that, you'll make some decisions. We'll vote, turn the lights back on, and everybody claps at the end of voting block. It's a really exciting experience, very wholesome. Noah, do you have anything to add on?
I think you pretty much covered it. Did you talk about like the 2 for, 2 against?
I did not. Do you want to go through that a little bit? Yeah, there you go.
Sure. So just a weird sort of ROP thing. When you motion to go into voting block, you have to have 2 people speak in favor of going into voting block and 2 people speak against, and the chair will decide, usually like 30 seconds or a minute speech. And it's really just like a ceremonial thing, because it's just such a serious thing that you need to actually like discuss whether or not you want to go into voting block. And so usually they'll come up with like sort of miscellaneous reasons why you wouldn't want to go into voting block, like there's still more amendments to be discussed. Or I guess some people would actually maybe genuinely believe that you shouldn't. But usually the whole committee's on the same page with that one.
Absolutely.
Okay. Closing remarks, closing resources. So I have some resources to share with you in order to just sort of like sum up what we have gone through. Oh, and then also, if anyone has had questions throughout this and was like private chatting Allie, I believe since she's sharing her screen that she can't see that, or is that false? I don't know.
I haven't gotten any private chats.
Okay, cool.
So I think we're good.
Okay, so that is a link that just sort of goes over flow of debate. So this is what you would say if you want to motion to close debate. And generally, like when you make a motion, you want to say the name of your country beforehand. So it's good to see that. And then to the next slide. So this is everything we just talked about in visual form. So first, motion to open committee, and then, well, I guess the chair will just open the committee, and then you sort of get an introduction from the dais, and they'll ease you into it and say some nice things, and then they will ask for any points or motions. Hopefully someone will just say open to formal debate, motion to open formal debate, and then that will get passed, and then they'll take roll call, and then somebody will make motions to order the agenda. They'll vote on those. In each topic, they'll read a position paper before formal debate begins on that topic. And then you open the speakers list, fill up the speakers list, start to make speeches. In between speeches, the chair will smile upon points or motions. And then motions will create moderated caucuses, unmoderated caucuses, all sorts of whatnot. And then at the end of the formal debate, once everything has been decided, you go into voting block, and then all the resolutions will either pass or fail, and then you repeat, go to the next topic. So you can go through this cycle 2 times, 3 times. If you have a really interesting topic, then maybe 1 time. I'm sure it's happened before. And then you close debate at the end. So that is what the SDR JMUN experience looks like.
Just to add on, your head chairs will always help you out. There's a lot of times when people are a little confused, nobody knows how to motion. The head chair will smile upon X, Y, and Z. The head chair will always be there to help you guys out, help lead debate when you guys are having a little bit of trouble. So don't feel nervous, don't feel intimidated, because we're here to help you.
And the other thing to note is, like, if anything happens rules of procedure wise that you don't understand, please make a point of inquiry and ask, like, what does that mean? Why are we doing that? Because odds are somebody else is going to have the same question of you. A lot of the people that do JMUN are new, and like, so it's their first time too. So you're not alone if you don't know what's going on. And as much information as we just threw at you, there's like no way really to know what a JMUN committee looks like until you've actually seen one, and you're like, oh, that's what they meant. Like, it all makes complete sense now. So yeah, please use those points of inquiry, points of personal privilege. If you need anything, head chairs will always be as helpful as they possibly can be. So these are some advice from some of us, including
both of us. So I guess I'll share my little bit of advice, and that is to speak with intention. A lot of times, especially for your first time in conference, it's so easy. I mean, for me personally, I know my first time in conference, you write your speeches and you're really focusing on your speeches. You practice your speeches while other people are speaking. And when it's your time to speak, you totally speak out of whack almost. You're not really commenting on what the other speaker is saying. You're more speaking just to speak for quantitative purposes. I want to remind you all to speak for qualitative purposes. The dais is listening to the words you say. We want to hear you, and we want to hear the amazing and profound things that you have to say about these topics and against your fellow debaters. So remember to speak with intention.
Yeah, and sort of adding on to that, I would say like one of the biggest pieces of advice for just being a successful delegate is like actually form an opinion on the topics. And whether it's usually like the good delegates usually have a...
Did he just freeze for you?
Yeah. Noah!
Yeah. You lost him. I'm going to text him right now just to let him know.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. Noah, you had cut out.
You totally froze.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's okay. Where did I cut out?
Form an opinion.
Yes, you should form an opinion on the topic because it'll make you more passionate and it'll make you speak with intention. And so when you motion to give a speech, if you actually have like what you genuinely believe, if you've done a little bit of research, and you really want to make a feasible solution, then it's going to make you speak a lot more clearly, because otherwise it's more like you're just speaking for the purpose of saying words, and then the words that come out don't really have much meaning behind them. So that'll help you a lot in this process as well.
Absolutely. Do we want to read what Olivia and Valerie have to say to the team?
Yeah, sure. So Valerie was basically saying that, and I also said kind of the same thing. I didn't know both of us were saying such similar things to the same question, but basically the reason why we motion for moderated caucuses is if like you're not on the speakers list, but you want to give a speech, there's something that you want to get across, there's a specific topic that you want the committee to talk about and like hone in on, or like you want to give more people the chance to speak.
And Olivia is kind of backing exactly what Noah told all of you, which is to ask questions. Again, the dais is here for you. Your experience having fun is way more important than professionalism here at JMUN. We're all here to have so much fun. We're here because we love it. So please ask questions for your own purpose.
Yeah, and I like the way she says it too. Like usually in formal debate, like you're in character, you're not representing yourself, you're representing a country. When you make a point of inquiry or a point of personal privilege, or even a point of order, like you're sort of stepping out of character a little bit and acting as yourself and like, wait, what's going on? So I can go back to being Bolivia. Yeah.
And just to add on, again, remember you're representing a country. So when you're making a point or motion on the floor, don't say I, say the Republic of X, Y, and Z motions to X, Y, and Z. Okay, so you're always in character. Again, you can make a point of inquiry, point of order to step out of that character, but again, you are representing your nation.
Yeah. So the next steps, so it's very important to work on those resolutions. I don't know if you like, from what you gleaned today, those resolutions are really important because you're going to be debating them and going over the specifics of how to implement them. So work really hard on those, make sure they're well researched and backed up, because they totally have a chance of ending up in the packet. So work on those. They're due between April 5th and 10th if you're in the General Assembly or Regional Security Council, and 19th to 23rd if you're in Security Council.
And adding on, stay updated on current events. A really important thing in conferences. Sometimes you'll write about something that happened months ago in your resolutions, and a current event will happen. And a lot of delegates that stay research will come at you hard with that current event. So make sure that you are staying updated on not only your nation's current events, but all of our nation's current events.
Yeah, and especially looking at the topics that are in your committee. Or topics that have to do with your committee, because it's definitely going to help you have that, that context, that personal opinion, and investment. So yeah, get those resources prepared, and we have another webinar, I believe the last webinar on April 9th, what to expect at the conference. So check that out.
And with that, do we have any questions, concerns, comments? Stop sharing screen. Anyone at all?
Oh, I have a chat from someone. I have to read it before I say it though. Yeah, so when you refer to like yourself as a country, you don't have to say the full name every time because it'll take a while. You can just say like it's your name. Like if you're Bolivia, you don't have to say, I don't know what their full name is, but you don't have to say like the Republic of Bolivia motions. Like you can just say Bolivia doesn't think that's true. You know what I mean? Like, and even if you're in unmoderated caucuses, because chairs will be like going around, if you're in breakout rooms, they'll be going from breakout room to breakout room and sort of like viewing you. So even in unmoderated caucuses, even though it's a more informal context, you're still talking in that formal way. So you can just refer to it like the name of the country is just your name. And you're speaking in third person because you're a crazy person, because everyone in MUN is a little bit of a crazy person. Anything else?
I'll just give a quick tip of mine. Something that has really helped me throughout the years. When you're in debate and debating for each topic and each paper themselves, I always like to write as we're going through support, don't support, support this resolution, don't support this resolution. So that way at the end when we're in voting block, you're like, oh my God, do I support this? Do I not? I don't remember. So something that really helps me is just staying on top of it right when we go through with debate. Tell yourself if you support it or not, just to keep your mind going.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely like paying attention to what other people are saying helps a lot with that. If you just totally check out during every speech, then you're not going to know like what the consensus is. And it helps a lot to make a more like cohesive and productive debate if you're referencing back to the opinions of other delegates.
If anyone because I know this is like a lot of information to go through, and it can be, Noah and Allie did a great job explaining it all, so kudos to them on that. Thank you guys. But if you have any questions where, suddenly it's 10 p.m. tonight and you wait, I meant to ask this, but I didn't. All of the contact information for the Secretary Generals can be found, all of the Upper Secretariat can be found on our website. And you can reach out to us, and we can also put you in contact with Noah or with Allie or with any of our other chairs too, if it's a more committee-specific question. And then this will also be on YouTube, so you can also go back and refer to it, and you guys will have access to like the slideshow and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And make sure to go to your office hours too. Like that's a great way to sort of clear up any questions, or if you're juggling some resolution ideas and you want to hear what your dais has to say about those ideas, then that would probably be a great resource.
Yeah.
Office hours are also a great way for your dais to get to know your face. If we know your face already before conference, that's a big advantage. So come to office hours. We love to have you, and we really want to see your faces. So come, yay!
Yeah, we highly recommend them. You can bother any of our chairs with any questions whatsoever.
And I think the dates and times for those are on the SDR JMUN website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just like going on and on with information.
You guys, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming, all of you who came. Remember that, you can always email us if you have any other questions, but we really appreciate you guys showing up. And try to tune in for our next webinar if you can. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to kind of close up all those little gaps that questions you might have about what does JMUN look like online, because it's going to be a little bit different than our normal in-person conference. But anyways, you guys are free to go if you want. Thank you so much. A big thank you to Noah and Allie. You guys did awesome. So yeah, have a great rest of your Friday, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.